Greetings, fellow grade 11s. It's Mr. Shadrau here. Welcome to Back to Basics. And what we are basically looking at today, we are looking at our November 20, I think this is 2017 paper, right? So we are trying to understand what is entailed in here, right? Now let's see in terms of what we have here. Now, so this particular question that we are given a hyperbola rather, and also our exponential graph. So let's see in terms of what is it that we are expected here. So the first question, they want us to determine what is going to be the f of 3, right? Basically they are saying when your x, when your x is equals to -3, basically what is going to be your y. So that what this question require us to do first, right? So let's see in terms of how can we do this type of questions, right? Now we are going to start here. For us to solve this type of question, we are going to start here. We are going to say, look, your f of 3, right? Your f of -3 is going to be given by -3, right? This is going to be same as -3 into -3 plus your what? Plus your 2 plus 5, rather plus 1, and then what is going to be the answer that you're going to get? Your answer that you're going to get, this is going to be same as your what? This is going to be same as your 4. How to get? So that is the answer that you're going to get, your 4. Then now, the second question, they say determine x if g of x is equals to 4. So they are saying if g of x is equals to 4, what is g of x? G of x is basically this particular graph, right? So they are saying if g of x is equals to 4, they say where g of x is equals to 4. So which means basically this is where this is going to be when this is same as your 2 to the power of -x minus 4 is equals to 4, right? So we are going to start here. For us to solve this type of question, we are going to, group the like terms first. This is going to be same as 2 to the power of -x. Then when you take the 4 this side, what is it that you're going to have? This is going to be same as your 8, because this is same as 4 plus 4, which is your 8. And what is going to be your 8? Your 8 in terms of 2, this is same as 2 to the power of -x is equals to your 8 in terms of 2, it's same as 2 cubed, out to get. And now if this is same as 2 cubed, which means your x that you're going to have, you're going to say now, since you are having the bases that are the same, you are going to say -x is going to be equals to your what? Your 3, which means therefore your value of your x is going to be given by what? By -3. When you are multiplying by what? -1 everywhere on this particular thing, right? So basically that is going to be the first thing that you are having there. So now let's move swiftly along and see in terms of what else do we have in here, right? Now let's see. So the next question is, they want us to write down what are going to be the asymptote of what? The asymptote of your what? Of your f. Remember from here, this value here represent your asymptote, and also this value here represent your asymptote, right? So which means your x asymptote is going to be x plus 2 is equals to 0. Remember, you equate this to 0, then your x is going to be same as what? Your x is going to be same as -2. And your y, you just write it the way it is. Your y is always going to be same as 1. Okay, so basically that is going to be your asymptote for the graph of f. And then now they want us to write down what is going to be the range of g. All right. So now to write the range of g, remember we are saying these represent this 4 here represent your what? It represents your asymptote, which means your graph is not going to cross this border, right? So which means your graph is going to do what? Your graph is going to continue, since this is 2 to the power of -x, which means your graph is going to continue from -4 up until positive infinite, right? Which means this particular graph of ours is going to what? Your y is going to be greater than what? Your -4, right? Because this graph will never cross this particular this particular asymptote. Remember, this is the asymptote of our our exponential graph, right? Hopefully this makes sense. Now let's see now what else are we having. They say determine the coordinates of x and y intercept of f. Look, now for us to find the asymptote, or rather the intercept, this is simple. For x-intercept, you let your y to be equals to 0. Similarly, for y-intercept, you let your x to be equals to 0, right? So let's make up our space here so that we can write all these things of ours here. So we are going to say, look, for x-intercept, you what? You let y to be equals to 0. So we are going to start with that, right? So which means this is going to be same as 0 is equals to -3 over x plus what? Plus 2. Then this is same as plus 1, right? And then now when you are taking this one this side, this is same as -1 is equals to -3 over your x plus 1. Or rather x plus 2. Sorry about that. Look, then now what is it that you're going to do? Now you're going to take the denominator and multiply it this side. So this is same as -1 multiplied by x plus 2, and then is equals to what? Is equals to negative what? -3. Basically what we did here, we cross multiplied. Right? So now from here, this is same as what? When you're solving this, this is same as -x and -2. So this is same as -x and -2, which is equals to -3. So which means the value of your x here, you are going to have -x. And then when you take these two, this side is positive. So this is same as equals to -1, which means your x is going to be same as 1. Right? So which means your x intercept now it's going to be same as 1 and 0, which is the first coordinate. Now, if we are looking for y is going to be simple. Now we are going to say, look, now for y-intercept, you let x to be equals to 0. So which means now for y-intercept, this is going to be like this. This is going to be same as what? Now y is equals to -3 over 0 plus 2. 0 plus 2, and then this is going to be plus 1, which means your value of your y now it's going to be same as -1 over 2. How to get? So basically that is going to be the value of your y, right? So which means this is going to be that particular value. And now which means this is same as 0 and -1 over 2, which is going to be your y-intercept for this particular graph, right? Now, so then the 5.7, what 5.7 want us to do, look, they want us to draw the graph of f and also the graph of g. This is very interesting. Let's see in terms of what firstly can we have before we even start drawing. Yes, we have everything for the graph of f, but do we have anything for the graph of g? We definitely have nothing. So let's see in terms of what is it that we can have for the graph of g before we start drawing, right? Now, so for the graph of g, firstly, now we are going to do what? Before we move that, let's look at 5.6. 5.6, they say determine the equation of the axis of symmetry, which has a negative gradient, right? We are saying the axis of symmetry, right? For our axis of symmetry, what is it that you are going to have here? Now let's make up our space here. And look, now for our axis of symmetry, you are always going to have what? Your axis of symmetry. Look, the easier thing that I usually say, I say, look, for you to have your axis of symmetry, you just take everything except the A, right? So which means this is, you are going to only exclude this one, right? So which means your y here is going to be equals to what? Is going to be same as your what? X plus your what? X plus 2, then this is going to be plus 1. How to get? This is going to be same as x plus 2 and plus 1. But now, what is it that you are already having here, right? Now, already what you are having, they said this is supposed to be what? The one with a negative gradient, right? So which means now, if this is having a negative gradient, then you're going to solve all this, right? So since this is having a negative gradient, so which means this y is going to be same as what? Now, this is going to be negative into x plus 2, then plus 1, right? Because this must have a negative gradient. So this is going to be same as what now? This is same as negative x, -2 plus 1, which means this is going to be same as what? Negative x plus what? Or rather minus 1. So basically that is going to be your y, this is going to be same as your what? Your axis of what? Your axis of symmetry for this particular graph. Okay. Now, hopefully this makes sense. If you don't want to do it this way, others, they do it like this. You can just simply say the formula here is going to be y is equals to what? Y is equals to negative x plus c. Why is it negative x? Because they said negative gradient, right? And now what is it that you're going to do here? You are going to substitute your asymptotes, right? You're going to substitute your asymptote to firstly find out your c, and then you write the equation. So you are now going to substitute your what? Your asymptotes, right? So what was your asymptote here? For your y, your asymptote for y, it was 1 is equals to negative, the one for x is going to be what? Negative 2. Remember, it was negative 2 plus c. And therefore, you find out your c. The c that you are going to find in here, you are going to find out that your c is negative 1. Right? So which means this y is same as negative x minus 1 again, right? So any of these particular root are still, it is still going to give you the same response or the same answer that you are looking for, right? So now that is going to be that question. Now let's go to that question now where they want us to draw the graph of ours, right? Now, for us to draw this particular graph, the only thing that we need here, for example, we are going to start with this graph of ours and look for your the graph of f. Remember, for the graph of f, what is it that we have? We calculated firstly the x-intercept. The x-intercept, it was 1 and 0, right? It was same as 1 and 0. And the other one, it was what? For y-intercept, it was what? It was 0 again and negative 1 over 2, right? So those are the 2 points that we were having for the graph of f. Now for the graph of g, what did we have, right? So let's see. We are going to look for the x-intercept and also for the y-intercept for both of those graphs, right? So let's say we are looking for the x-intercept for the graph of g. So we are going to say if you are looking for x-intercept, for x-intercept, you let your y be equals to 0, right? If you are letting your y to be equals to 0, so what is this going to be? 0 is equals to 2 to the power of negative x minus 4. Then you're taking the 4 this side. This is same as 4 is equals to 2 to the power of negative x. You express the 4 in terms of 2. This is same as 2 squared is equals to 2 to the power of negative x. Now that you are having the same base, which means your negative, your negative x is going to be equals to your 2. So therefore, your x is same as what? Is same as negative 2, right? So that is going to be that coordinates. Let's write it here now for g, which means you are having what? This is same as your negative 2, and also your what? And also your 0. Now for y, now let's make up our space so that we can do now for your y-intercept. Now for y-intercept, what is it that you are going to do for this particular graph? We are going to say for y-intercept, this is same as what? Your y is going to be given by 2 into your what? Into your 0, subtract what? Subtract your 4. And now what is it that you are going to have, or rather, what is it that you are going to find here? Anything that is to the power of 0 is going to be same as what? It's going to be same as 1, which means basically same as 1, subtract your 3, or rather subtract your 4, and then your answer that you're going to have, this is going to be same as negative 3, right? So which means the coordinates for this particular thing is going to be 0 and negative 3, right? For your y-intercept. Now that you have that, let's see what else now are you going to have. Now already you are going to now start and say now, let's plot our graph, right? Now we have all the nitty-gritties that we needed. Right now, let's try and plot our graph. Now, let's firstly draw our Cartesian plane. Let's find the other one. And yes, this line of ours, very much straight. Now, and now from here, what is it that you are going to have? Let's start. We are going to start by drawing the graph of f. Let me try and make these to be different colors. So let's say the blue one is for the graph of f. So the graph of f firstly is going to have the what? The asymptote. The first asymptote, it is the one that is going to be your y. Then your the y is given by what? The y, it was given by 1, isn't it so? So it was given by 1. So which means the y is going to start here, where here is your y, right? This is going to be your y, your 1, right? And now the other graph is given by negative 2. And the negative 2 is somewhere here. Let's plot this. Remember, this is going to be a sketch, right? So this is going to be your negative what? The negative 2, which means this point is going to be what? This is going to be same as negative 2 and 1, right? And now Let's see. So we said firstly for the graph of f, we are having 1 and 0, which means the first plot is going to be somewhere here, right? And what else are we having there? Now, the other point for this graph, it was 0.5. So your 0 is here and your negative half y is going to be somewhere here, right? So which means basically if you are plotting, remember this is same as what? This is same as 1 and 0. And this is same as what? This is same as 0 and the negative 1 over 2. So which means this particular graph is going to move something like this. Touch here, touch here. Let me just write it to be much nicer, you know. Then this is going to be, look at this now. This is going to be, let me just wipe this one only. This is same as this is going to touch only here, and move in this direction, right? And which means the other one, you're just also going to just draw the reflection of this other graph, right? So the reflection of this other graph is going to be somewhere here. And now, when now we are looking for the graph of G, the graph of G is having your what? Your intercept where first? It is having your intercept at your 0, all right, 0 and 2, which means this other graph is going to touch here. The other graph is going to touch here. 0 and 2 is going to be here, or rather 2 and 0 rather. 2 and 0, or negative 2 and 0, and the other one is negative 3. Negative 3, let's say it's somewhere here. If you're negative 3, it's somewhere here. And remember that this graph is having your also what? The asymptote. And the asymptote of this particular graph is 4. So if this is your 4, the graph is going to have your asymptote here at 4 of negative 4. This is going to be a negative 4, which means this particular graph of ours is going to move something like this. It's going to, you know, come from the top. It's going to come, look at me. Let me try and write it nicely. Let me start it from here. It's going to come here, cut here, move upward, you know, cut here, and then it's going to move somewhere here. How to get? You know, this is not the best drawing, but you at least see in terms of what did I want to draw here, right? So basically, these are going to be how your graph are going to look like. How to get? Hopefully, this now will make sense to you, and then you're going to just get all your full 6 marks that you're having. Remember, you are going to also plot this. This is the same as 0 and negative 3, right? And which point did we didn't plot? This is same as what? Negative 2 and 0, right? So this is basically the graph, and this one represent the graph of what? Of g of x, while this one representing the graph of f of x. Are we together? Now, so basically, this is how you were required to draw this particular graph. I know this graph looks very nice, you know, nicer than someone's graph who I won't mention very now, right? So basically, now this is what you were required to do. Now let's see. The last question is, they say if it is given that your f of negative 1 is equal to g of negative 1, determine where where the graph is going to be what? Where the graph of g of x is going to be greater than this particular graph. Now, let's see. So basically now here, let me just, you know, take back this graph and see in terms of what is it that you are required here. So let's say this is our graph. They say if this your f of negative 1 is same as your g of negative 1, right? So basically they are saying this graph are going to have the point of contact there. Now what is going to be that what is going to happen here? So they are saying now, can you see that if they say where your x is negative 1, your negative 1 is somewhere here, right? It's somewhere here. So basically, they are saying if this is your point of contact, can you see that? Because that's where your graph is going to be negative 1. Basically, that's where both of these graphs are cutting, and that is going to be almost exactly where both of these graphs are equals to negative 1, right? Now, they want where values where the graph of g of x is greater than the graph of f of x. What does that mean, basically, now? Now, when they say greater, right? When they say your graph where it's greater than that, so they want where the graph of g of x is above, right? So this they want where the graph of g of x basically is above the graph of f of x, right? So now where is going to be the graph of g of x where it's above that? Now let's start here. So where is going to be the graph of g of x basically? Now, if you can start here, let's say, now whenever we're interpreting the graph, you are always going to start from this particular side, right? You are always going to start from this way and you are moving this way, right? You move like that whenever you are interpreting your graph, right? So if you start there, right? Now, if you start there, basically, if you are starting there, where is both of these graphs going to be less than each other, right? Now, when you're starting from there, we are saying, firstly, when you are starting from this particular side, you are also going to have that particular point, which means here, if you start from here, can you see that these graphs somewhere here are also having another point of contact, right? They are also having another point of contact. Let's find out in terms of what is that point of contact. What is this f of -1? Let's find out what is going to be this particular point again. All right. And now, if you are finding out what is going to be this particular point, let's see. This particular point here, let's find out. Let uh now, did we have anything here? So if this is going to be a 2, so basically this is going to be almost probably less than -3, right? This is going to be almost -3, but let's just ignore this one for now and just focus here, right? And let's just focus in here, right? Now, I want us to look at this one. Now, can you see that this graph here, if I can just move, swiftly along from here, right? Here, remember, this is -2, and also here. Can you see that the purple graph is at least above the blue graph? If you can look at this blue graph here, right? If you can look at this blue graph, can you see where I'm making your dotted lines, right? Can you see that this graph is almost below, right? This graph is almost below than this graph of what that than this purple graph, right? Similarly, these graphs they are meeting somewhere here, right? They are meeting somewhere here. These graphs are meeting somewhere here, right? Before we go to this particular point that we are not sure of, right? Now we are saying from here, can you see that the graph of negative, here at -2, right? The graph here at -2, this portion here, up until here, this particular graph is going to be above the graph of f of x, right? The graph of g of x is basically above the graph of f of x because this one is below. As much as you cannot see it, but this graph here, if you can, comparatively speaking, this other graph is lesser here and here, which means now between these 2 points, that's where your graph is going to be greater than the graph of g of x, right? The graph of g of x is basically going to be greater than the graph of f of x, right? So which means it's going to be where x is the element of real numbers. And again, it's going to be where x is in between what? Is in between -2 and also your what? And also a -1. So basically that is where both of these graphs, or rather the graph of g of x is going to be above the graph of what? Above the graph of f of x. Hopefully this makes sense to you, and now you get in terms of what is required of you in here, right? So this is as far as this video is concerned. Thank you very much.